a call for these guys to be released?
They made a call for these guys to be released. Mr. Kum Leonard, we have seen actions that have been initiated by the international community in other countries. Let me even take the case of the African hero that died, Gaddafi. It did not take the US and France up to a week to connive and see that they placed Libya on fire and ashes, simply because they had interest. Gaddafi was not against their interest in that. Gaddafi was against their interest in that nation. In Cameroon, these countries have their interest. Excuse me for saying that. I'm saying this as a politician, and it irks me when I see fellow Cameroonians, my own fellow citizens, died, and then you get international community, diplomatic partners come to exercise hypocrisy. It is irking. I think that it's high time somebody told these people that the historians in this nation are recording down. Our people are recording these things down. There will be a time when the cup of endurance will run over and people will no longer be willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. They will be ready to support whosoever that is ready to stand up, no matter his walk of life that he comes from, or his political inclination, or no matter even his profession, to ensure that those who think that they can keep on plundering on the natural resources of Cameroon and then turn Cameroon into a haven of criminals who are loyal to them and who have no respect of human dignity in this nation, that time is coming. Like I said this is a time the international community has to prove to Cameroon that they have the interests of the ordinary Cameroonians who are the indigenous people at heart. Let me tell you something, Mr. Kum Leonard. I was discussing with some people the other day, I think age people that are older than me, and I told them, I remember when the Germans came to Cameroon, my dad told me, before you were sent to school, it was because your parents considered that you were an outcast. The good children, those who were well behaved, were placed to be closer to their parents, and the rascals were those who were taken and given to the white man to be trained so that he becomes illiterate. And all these people benefited scholarship. All these rascals benefited scholarships, and they were taken out and were trained. They have all been in power for time since the last 3 decades, and they are the ones ensuring the interests of the colonial masters who are here plundering our resources. The wind of change is moving. Mr. Dimancho, I'm telling you, I'm a politician. I have been vying for change. The CRM that I'm a member and a cadre of the party has this manifesto. We have this in our slogan, peaceful change through the transparent ballot. But like I told you, within the ranks of all opposition and all stratas of life in this nation, I will not tell you that there are frustrations that are boiling up. There are frustrations that are boiling up. And if the regime in place is not careful, even those whom they are relying on, when the anger will boil up, even those that they think that are the ones that will protect them will turn against them. I mean those Cameroonians. Remember that the man who stood up in Egypt and decided that the Israelites were to leave Egypt, Moses was not somebody that had not grown up in the palace. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house. The Bible tells us that he ate the food of Pharaoh. He had the wisdom of Egypt in him. There are people of this regime. Let's talk the like of Issa Truma, who people say no, he was with Bia yesterday. They are the like of Issa Truma. There are still many of them in the regime who are not happy. I want to tell you, when you look at the utterances of the current Minister of Communication with regards to the demise of Anicent Ekane, you understand that there are people with a lot of vexation with what is going on. So the international community should sit up and prove to Cameroonians, because we have lost faith in them, that they are there for fair judgment to be meted on those who are terrorizing their citizens worldwide, and not only selectively, especially doing that in countries where they find that their interest is not secured, in other countries where the leaders secure their interests through natural resources that are being open to them to exploit and even take back to their nations, while those countries keep on suffering in perpetual poverty.
Okay, how would you describe President Anicent Ekane?
President Anicent Ekane was a man of his conviction.
Okay.
Yes, many times I've shared a TV platform with President Ekane. And one of the things that I understand about him was that he's a man who was stuck to his conviction. He's a man who was so consistent. The man was consistent. Even though some people will think that during the last moment when he gave up his chairmanship for perhaps to Maurice Kamto and all, they saw that as a sign of weakness. But to me, I interpret that as a sign of consistency for his belief in the democratic process in Cameroon and for the meaningful change in Cameroon. Because having done that showed that he actually loves this country. So, Anicent Ekane was a man who was very soft-spoken. He is not that kind of a politician you are on the platform and you find him shouting on certain issues. He was very, very soft-spoken, and he took his time to speak, and he spoke exactly what he felt. This is why you will understand that he is one of those politicians that at one moment you will not even just hear about him, some scandals about him anywhere. Even at the time when at one moment there was this issue from the Ministry of Territorial Administration where he was removed from being the president of Manidem, and all of those issues that came up, the man remained very, very stiff and constant in what he believed in and in a Manidem. And he was that kind of a politician who would not want to jump from one party to the other. From the time I knew Anicent Ekane has remained very faithful to the UPC, to Manidem. So I think that this was somebody who really needed to be trusted. And I'm really asking myself why this has to happen to him at the end. But as we often say, sometimes divine hand is always behind some of these things that happen to us and we do not know. This can also be an issue that should right the wrongs of this regime in Cameroon, which we are actually just looking at askance manner. I think that we really need to have a fixed eye on what has happened and be able to interpret it the right way. We need to have that discerning eye to be able to know exactly what has happened to Anicent Ekane, because he died like a savior, someone who was out to salvage a people from drowning.
They matter.
They matter. And I mentioned this during my opening discourse. And I said this man died as a martyr. And they have just joined the other martyrs that have died. It's out of martyrdom. And we say that the blood of martyrs waters the freedom of a nation. And I think that his death will not go unnoticed. When I say unnoticed, this is very huge. This is big. When I say his death will not go unnoticed, especially in the political life of Cameroon, his death will create utterly, something. You see already in government, there are this question of who did this and who did that. And this brings to questions the prison conditions in this country. Because when you have somebody of that nature, not only somebody of that caliber, but generally, when you imprison people, what is the care that you take of these people that you imprison? Because I think to me that prison is that place which is meant to correct people. Prison is not meant to kill or to strangulate or to erase people from the face of the earth. Prison is meant to correct people. And if prison is meant to correct people, then you should care about the health of the people when they get into prison. Because it is very, very important. Why is it that at this point in time, everybody is like, okay, the government and the government side, they have to carry out an investigation to know why he died. There's this stampede about everybody just showing that kind of a concern now. So I think that the cause that we have already had from the EU, from other organs, international organization, is a testimony of the fact that Anicent Ekane was somebody who had a clean face, who had a clean record, who had a good relationship with external bodies, who actually stood for the true meaning of change in Cameroon, and is somebody who was not at one moment looked upon as a terrorist. And I think that is why a lot of people are calling for the investigation of his death. And that is also why a lot of people defied or ought I saw there were military surrounding his house. I passed by early this morning, and a lot of people were flocking in to pay their last homage to the Manidem headquarters. And I saw a mother, and which of course when I looked at that I said, oh God, who actually replayed, you know, they start the democratic period when democracy started in Bamenda, where we had what we call the Takambums. And we saw a mother trying to actually undress herself. This in Africa we call a curse, because if she did, it would have been a curse for all those who did that. We know what happens, what usually happened in the 1990s with the famous Takambums that were with John Frundi. So I think that these are some signs that we should know that he was not just a common man. He was a man of valor, a man of caliber, a man of respect, a man who stood for the people. And of course, whatever sins or whatever political error he committed, he only committed as a human being. And that the image that I will have of this great man, whom I call the Iroko of politics in Cameroon, was a man that stood for his conviction, and the conviction stood taller than him. And that is why he was ready to even give us his life. You know, he sacrificed himself. He was able to sacrifice, to ooze out his blood to salvage the people of Cameroon. That is the man, Anicent Ekane.
Are we seeing the departure of the cream, the last men standing within the ranks of the UPC?
The likes of Kodok and that of Anicent Ekane today, I think that Ekane's death is special, very special from other persons, because Ekane are the intrinsic.
He went beyond. He went beyond the UPC.
He went beyond the UPC. Ekane, you know, we always have it that the UPC remain tied to their political cycle, and it's always very difficult for them to go beyond. But Ekane went quite beyond, and he proved to the world at large that at a certain juncture in life, there is an ultimate price to pay for one's convictions, especially when we aspire to leave a legacy for posterity. Like I said a while ago, the mere fact that President George Anicent Ekane, after having been devastated by the arbitrary rejection of Professor Maurice Kamto, did not allow that to weigh on his head, but he could still stand tall in the face of adversity and look beyond just the friendship that existed between him and Professor Kamto, and still could see in some other Cameroonian that person that had what it took to federate the forces of change to unseat the regime in place. And he had to throw his support for Issa Chiruma Bakare. I want to say kudos to him, though he's in his grave. You see, the Bible holds it, those of us who read the Bible. Anicent's blood would not just go for nothing. Remember, when Abel died, his blood was asking for vengeance. Those who have it in mind that they can just kill people and then go scot-free, I want to tell them it's a lie from the pit of hell. It is true that they may have all the protection it takes on them. Some may go up to the essence of saying that it is no longer written in the Bible that the children can pay for the sins of their father, but I will tell you that the Bible doesn't contradict. God is not a God of injustice. Some of these people who have killed people have amassed wealth, and the wealth, they are killing the people because they want to keep that wealth in their bank's account. They stockpile it for their generations to eat right up to the fifth generations. The only way their generations might be saved, spared from the impending doom that is hovering over their families, is if they will refuse to eat that money, because that is money that is ill-gotten. It means the children would completely reject their parents' ill-gotten wealth, and that money is being directed into the state coffers and distributed to those who are suffering. But if that is not done, I will tell them that if you are amassing that word, killing people, using all the means you can do to place them under horrible conditions and abject poverty, arresting them and dumping them in cell, your children and your children's children are going to pay it, in as much as they will be eating that money which you got through the shedding of innocent blood. That money that you got through the pains of innocent people. I'm talking to them because when you go to church on Sunday, you see these people that are occupying the front seat. Some of the ill-gotten money, they even use it. They build churches. They think that that is going to save them.
Okay.
It's not going to save them.
Marville Abe is watching us. Good evening to you, Marville Abe. Forbins Kieran, Richard Bache says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm watching from Benakuma, Esimbi. Prince Fende Bile. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and everyone in the studio. Tamja Joseph. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm watching from Douala. They are all watching us through our social media handle. Good evening to all of you watching us on Facebook, and we are glad to know that you follow us every evening. The government and the Ministry of Defense has promised to engage investigations. Dr. DiMaggio, this is what almost everybody is saying. The international community says we want to understand the circumstances under which President Anicent Ekane died, and the family also wants to get clarity, his political family as well as Cameroonians.
Yes, and I see the act of the government as an act of pretense, because even if, because I'm looking at this point, and he said, Kane, to me, his death was programmed. Programmed in which sense? If somebody has an aspirator, or a respirator as a lifesaver, and you know that this is what sustains, this is the medical equipment that sustains this man, and then you deprive him of that equipment, what have you done to the person? Is it not an assassination? It means that you have deliberately, premeditatedly killed the person. So what is the autopsy investigation about?
Yeah, but this is, the arrest was done by some persons. Now investigations have been requested for by a different department. Maybe the situation was malhandled. It's like sending a child to go do something, and the child does something else. You need to know why they did what they are why they did, for possible sanctions.
Well, Mr. Kum, I take it from you, but to me, it is too really weak to talk about it that way.
You followed what happened in Nigeria, where a general was stripped of his rank.
Yeah, exactly.
So it means that the government asked him to engage something, but he took upon himself to do other things.
There's a lot of scapegoating in this thing. Yes, in a regime like this, when something is right, it is of the regime, and when it is wrong, it is you that was sent.
What are you? What are you saying?
I just want to.
What I'm saying.
I wanted to chip in. Let me tell you something. When I was arrested on the 4th, I want to take my case, and other militants of the CRM that were arrested on the 4th of August in Yaoundé, just in front of the Constitutional Council. I'm not throwing any flour on the judicial system in place, but I want to be very sincere in all honesty. There were some group of unscrupulous gendarmes, overzealous gendarmes, who came that day. I wanted to go to the Constitutional Council with other militants of the CRM. Reaching there, we arrived late, and we decided to seek refuge, maybe to have to seek solace in a supermarket. Simply because some of them know us as maybe special advisor to Professor Kanto and cadres of the party. There was an assault on the place. They came there, arrested everyone, took us, locked us in a gendarme place, in a gendarme detention camp. We were charged for baseless crimes like terrorism and other like. Let me tell you what happened. They took us to the military court almost 3 times after having spent 3 weeks in detention. It was at the military court that the military judge told them the charges against these people are ungrounded. Are you get what I'm saying? Go back and complete the investigation. They took us back for completion of investigation. After completion of investigation, the charges were reclassified and they sent us to the court of first instance. I want to tell you, you understand. There are those who, let me say, that's the
overzealous. They are overzealous. Yes, no, we understand that. That is true.
They aggravate your crime. Sometimes they do what is called abuse of process. They may collect criminal material from somewhere.
Like take the case of Anicent Ekane. Now, when he was arrested, we had information on social media that grenades, guns were found. I'm sure those are some of the investigations that this guy was charged for. This were they really with some of this?
That's the question.
That is what I was going to come to, Mr. Liu. This shows the the slowness of the government to act, because you have somebody Anicent Ekane. We are not just talking about any other person. We have somebody Anicent Ekane. At least this is a household name in Cameroon. This is a political heavyweight. Arrested on the 24th of October. We are now in December. And no investigation has been carried out to know exactly the consequences surrounding his arrest. And nobody cares to find out whether, because we have seen letters circulating from his lawyers, how they even wrote appealing that the respirator equipment, respiration equipment that they took from him, that this is like a lifesaver to him. He needs to be restituted that, and it was ignored. We have even learned from a letter from a Minister of Communication, the Minister of Communication, which was even indicting those who did that particular act. It means that to the Minister of Communication, this kind of an act should not be accepted in a normal country. So we are asking,
what the Minister of Communication said was not in the official note. That was he was speaking as really.
Of course.
In a telephone conversation.
That is don't defend that. That was a telephone. Yes, I understand that.
No, I just want to put everything in context.
But you know that he cannot say that openly, of course. Yeah, he can only do that. He was leaked. That is important to say that we know that there are bad things happening in Cameroon, and we actually know that there are people in government who do not know like the bad things that are happening in Cameroon. Just as Mutaga said, the way they were weeks off. Even of course that I may say that sometimes in investigation it happens that you take everybody and then you begin to fish the real people around, because that's what happened when they want to do a random arrest. They arrest people at random, and now when they are fishing out, when they are getting closer to the investigation, that is actually when
it's not just only the arrest, but the problem is the charges levied against you. Because you can arrest somebody. You don't arrest somebody who is just in a drinking spot and then you charge him for terrorism. You charge him for association with criminals. You charge him for hostility against the other.
Let us get orderly. My question had to do with investigations. The family wants to get clarity. How do we trust the process?
Yes, I think the only way to trust the process is that they should give that autopsy to an independent organ or body, hospital, call it that way. They should give it to an independent body. It should not be the very government to do the autopsy, because it will raise a lot of doubt. Of course, Anicent Ekane died in a government facility, and we cannot still say that we give the autopsy to be done by a government facility. I think that the government really wants clarity on this issue, which of course I've seen that there's some good faith. Whether it is because of the pressure that is mounting from the external bodies or whatever, but there is some good faith to do it. Let them listen to the family. The family has said it can only be done with, they will only accept that if it is done by an independent body. And this is good. But if they think that there is really nothing about it, I don't think there should be any hesitation about that. So I think that Cameroonians themselves, is not only about the family. Cameroonians, they want to see light cleared on the issue of Anicent Ekane, because you see things like this can crop up other issues. So it is very important, and and high time that the government handles it with a lot of care, with a lot of procedure that is not undoubtful. So I think, in my opinion, if they think that he died of a natural death, as at least the first statement from the defense ministry said that he died in a military hospital, and of course if he died in a military hospital, it means that he died of just causes, of natural causes, then of course to clear the family and calm down the tension, let them allow the family, as they have said, the government too will be involved. Let the family look for an independent hospital or body that can be carried out.
When I listened to Maitre Sim, he was not asking for an independent medical facility. He was saying that the government should use a government facility, but they want the lawyers of Anicent Ekane to also get the services of a private doctor in the process, involved.
Of course, it is the same thing. It's the same thing. Let the government do theirs, and then let them give the private doctor to do theirs. It's the same thing. Yeah, of course, because they may not totally trust the services of the government hospital, just as the government itself cannot totally trust the services of the private ministry. Yes.
Both should
do.
Yeah.
Both should do, and let them do it disparately. They are not supposed to do it together. Of course, you know what happens sometimes. Let them do this parallelly. The government should do it on and render its report, and then let that report also be confirmed by the doctor that the family or the lawyers must have actually chosen. It is very, very important, because the issue of I already heard even the sister saying they do not want the corpse of Anicent Ekane. A lot of the utterances are already coming, which are not good for this country. I've already seen a lot of civil societies gathering, and I mean the storm is actually rising, and we do not need this. We are already having a very fragile political situation in Cameroon here, and we do not want this to actually strike prolong.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Since the opposition failed to form a coalition because of their personal interests, so no good statement can come from them. Shanji Edwards, watching from Ambam. Greetings to you and your panelists. A special one to my senior brother, Mr. Michael, who I respect so much. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm called Hamza, watching from Kononi. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Cameroon has been made a jungle by some individuals. These individuals don't love Cameroon. All they care about is about your stomach. It's funny how people have lost their conscience. The system is not good. Tambe is writing from Kosala. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panelists. I've heard one of them say that the international community has done nothing in the war in the northwest and southwest regions. I wish to find out whether the international community should have come to ask parents to send children to school, ask Ambas to stop kidnapping, stop ghost towns, stop road blockades, stop paying liberation taxes, stop the killing of black legs, burning of government buildings and individual houses. The list goes on and on. Can one create a crisis and want Europeans to come and solve it? Christopher is watching us from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Christopher. Now, almost everybody wants to see the tense atmosphere in Cameroon brought down to some level. Can we also expect to see in the days or weeks ahead the authorities use the demise of President George Ekane Anicent to also engage the releasing of prisoners?
Mr. Leonard, we are dealing
not just those arrested now, but also your party members.
Political friends. Mr. Leonard, we are dealing with a regime that is not accountable to its people. That's the first thing I want to let you know. When you have a regime that has lobbying firms which are overseas, whose job is to do a kind of public and media campaign to give or to paint a good image of Cameroon, you find that it is an arrogant regime. There is a paper I read last week from a prominent figure shared in one communication channel, which shows how the regime in place since 2018 has been using fabulous sums of money to bribe firms in the US of A so that they could stay aloof. The things which are happening in Cameroon, especially the media outlets, to speak good of Cameroon, you find that it is a regime that is not willing to repent, an unrepentant regime. Because after having seen what happened with the Anglophone crisis, what happened in 2018, the arbitrary arrest and detention of militants of the CRM, the opposition asking for the consensual reform of the electoral system. We even saw Patricia Tumanu Damjoya in one of the visits to the Unity Palace, I think it was on Unity Day, 20th of May, personally handed the proposal from the opposition parties so that reforms could be done before the 2025 presidential elections, and she personally handed it to President Paul Biya, and that was not done. And then in 2025, opposition crying foul play, and then finally thousands have been arrested and dumped in prison, and one of the prominent figures died. And you tell us at this juncture that this could create some empathy and sympathy in the hearts of the regime barons so that they can enterprise meaningful dialogue, or maybe I said you said take some measures to ensure that the tensions are quelled down. Let us just hope. Impossible is not Cameroon. I am not saying that that cannot happen, but personally I'm not convinced. What I only advise is that the church, the imams, the traditionalists, as they call themselves, they need to intensify prayers for this nation. Because this nation is gradually being transformed into Sodom and Gomorrah, where a lot of things are happening. You know the death of Martinez Ogo. You know the death of the wife of one of the cadres of the CRM, Pascal Zambwe. While in prison, the wife was assassinated in Yaoundé. After the assassination of the wife in Yaoundé, he is in prison mourning the wife. His own son was arrested in Yaoundé and dumped at the Koniki Central Prison. The son is there 5 years. You arrest a man, dumped him in prison. The wife is left behind, being assassinated. Just after assassination, the son is arrested and dumped in prison. Honestly speaking, it means that if there was a way to kill the man in prison, he would have been killed. Those are instances that tell you that what interests the regime in place is their stay in power. In as much as they have that guarantee that they can stay in power, then they are ready to be at peace with any other person. But since we also have Cameroonians, especially of the genuine opposition, that would not want to play the hanky-panky game, there are bound to be cases like that of George Ekane that would be in the future, arrest and other like. You remember that I just said a while ago here, on the 29th of November last, in Yaoundé, Professor Maurice Kamto, he was placed on house arrest. Just imagine that if he had decided, maybe, or the militants have decided to go to his house to oppose, like you saw what happened with President Issa Chiroma in the north, it would have orchestrated another killings of Cameroonians in that place, because we know exactly what usually happen if there is such resistance from the civilians. The issue is that unproportionate force is always being used. What I want to say is the status quo, what is happening in Cameroon, will only need a special force. I'm saying it's a special force. A special force to change it. And when I talk of a special force, I'm talking about the mutualization of our efforts, the games of interest that are being played between or among the oppositions in this nation is what is maintaining the opposition in the present stage, which they are unable to take over power.
Okay. Good evening to you, Alan Ayumbi watching us on our Facebook page, and to you Collins, Christian Azewo Mumbe, and to you Enene Alain, Prince Frende Bile. All of you guys watching on Facebook, we send you special greetings. I'll take 2-3 messages. I am Ram Francis watching you live from Guinea. I think democracy should be promulgated by institutions rather by citizens. This is because as individuals, one is vulnerable and liable to death. How is it possible that citizens are arrested, people don't advocate for their release, but when they are killed, everyone is concerned? Lastly, what happened to the church leaders, especially the Catholic church leaders? Well, we thank the few who have spoken out, but if you ask me, I will advise the Bishop of Bamenda to please speak for the Christian people when it's still early, before they turn to generation that doesn't need their church leaders anymore. Thank you, Prem, for this opportunity. Thank you too for watching and contributing. This one from Eli Lino, writing from the United States, says democracy in Cameroon is an avenue for oppression. Those in power use it to eliminate patriotic citizens who actually stand for nation building, so they can continue their business of corruption and oppress the masses. Okay. Zuma, writing from the UK, says, good evening, Mr. Leo, and everyone on the panel. The crimes that some people are perpetrating on individual souls have made the land infertile to peace. The only thing that can save Cameroon today is for Cameroon to be liberated all political prisoners and render justice on the assassination of Martinez Zogo. Anicent is a martyr and history will remember him. Special greetings to my old friend in those days, Quarter Bamenda Semutaga. Zuma is writing from the UK. Someone is, that is Ram, who is writing from Guinea, says that many persons are quiet when they were arrested, and many more persons have been arrested, and almost everybody comes out now to talk when people die, wanting the church to be more vocal.
Yes, it happens in everyday life. You know, when you are with a friend, when you are with an acquaintance, when you're with someone, you don't value the person so much. It is natural. Imagine the person dies, that's when regret starts. If I knew, it happens. This is just because we are so human and short-sighted. We are blocked from knowing what will happen to each other the next minute. Let me tell you, people didn't believe the least that Anicent Ekane would so much quench so early, you know, and it was not occurring in anybody's head that this could happen, especially when they think that a high profile like Anicent Ekane will be given that kind of, you know, special treatment where he is. We pity the situation. And that is why we are almost so surprised. Like we say, if gold should rust, what will iron do? If a person like Anicent Ekane should be treated this way to the point of death, dying this kind of a disgraceful and shameful death, then what will happen to the common prisoner in the New Bell, in Konengi, and all of those places? And that is why I find a lot of people expressing, and of course, it dawns on people afterward that this fight is supposed to really be a collective fight. So they have a mixture of sympathy and they have a mixture of regret. You know, it is all interwoven. And people think that, oh, if we knew, we would have joined forces with this person. And that is why I said, if this is not handled very carefully, it sparks off another issue. Because at this point in time, it is very easy for some opportunists to take advantage. It's very easy for some political parties to take an advantage. It's very easy for civil society to take an advantage. It's even very easy for the international community to take an advantage. And that is why the government is careful. And I must say that it is one of the reasons why they have ordered for this inquiry, of course, which is firm. And it should take place for them to elucidate, to clarify the points on the death of this monument, on this Iroko, called Anicent Ekane, who has gone so soon at the age of 74. I think that this is after an age that he was supposed to enjoy his old age, the beginning of his old age, and he has just gone so suddenly. and going why after fighting for the country for so many years, and it is this time that we allow him to die such a shameful death. This is the more reason why people are getting much more interested. And you see, it is also a lesson for the future, because people are asking themselves, if it has happened to Anicent Ekane, what more of other political leaders? We have fear for them. We have fear for them. And that if we do not stand up and speak why these people are still here, we will all stand and we will stand after and talk in rest in peace when they must have gone. And what would that serve us when we are indifferent in the face of injustices? Because they say that if you stand, you are indifferent in the face of injustice, it means that you are condoning the injustice. And many people are now seeing the fact, and this adage is coming true to life. It is now being incarnated with the death of Anicent Ekane, and people are understanding that it is high time that Cameroonians, they rise up. And that is why you saw the mobilization that happened around the Manidem area this morning. And this is not all. A lot is being planned to happen in the coming days. And therefore, it is high time for the government to be able to calm down the situation and let people have. We know that we cannot bring back Anicent Ekane back. We cannot bring back Anicent Ekane. But we know one thing for sure is that we can preempt other similar issues from happening in future. And that we need to give an assurance. To be a politician is not a sin. To be a politician is not a bad thing. To be a politician is not an error. And therefore, being politician should not be equivalent to death or dying this kind of shameful death that we have had. Let us actually allow people to exercise their own responsibility in Cameroon, because Cameroon is also built by politicians, and it's very, very important.
Does this scare others from venturing into politics?
Mr. Leonard, politics is like a calling. It's like a calling to some of us. I remember the years back when I was in my bed sleeping, and it dawned on me that I should join politics. I was then the secretary of the Apostolic Men's Association, and the Apostolic Church is one of those churches that consider politics and religion to be diametrically opposed. So if you have it as a vocation, it will not scare you. It will not scare you. I remember no woman can be scared simply because she delivered the child through cesarean section, or because they had been pain, or she saw another woman giving birth and died on the maternity bed, giving birth to a baby. If you are genuinely called to politics, you understand that there's always a price to pay. Even Jesus Christ himself paid a price. But then, you know, there are things that happen to the ordinary eyes. They might seem very, very bad, but God allows it for a reason. It's true that the death of President George Anicent Ekane is painful, and really painful indeed, because President Paul Biya, who is at the Supreme Magistracy of Cameroon, had always said it, that he wants to be remembered of as the one who brought democracy in Cameroon. And we're asking ourselves, is it the kind of legacy he wants to leave for posterity as the one who brought democracy in place? The politicians of the genuine opposition, starting from John Fundi, you come to Professor Kamto, and others who are in the opposition know exactly how the political landscape in Cameroon is. It is scary, quite true. But then, there is nothing worth dying for than dying, especially in fulfilling a mission to which you were called for by divine voice. What we are scared of, Mr. Leonard, is not the barbarism of the regime in place as politicians of the opposition, those who have been fighting. We are only scared of the fact that the ordinary citizens whom these politicians are fighting for seems not to understand the real meaning of fighting for change in a political climate like Cameroon. You will find a country where people vote at time and then they fold their arms and they're in the bar drinking their beer. They say, oh, After maybe when votes have been rigged, they say, oh, Chiroma has failed. Or they say Kamdo has failed. We're expecting that he would dive in A2D and hold Mr. Bia or hold this so person on the neck and pull him out from the Unity Palace. Many do not understand that political change necessitates collective and sincere, genuine commitment of all citizens. That is what scared most of the opposition politicians. It is not even the barbarism of the regime. Because we have seen countries where such authoritarian regime had exist, and the people rise up one day and they say, no, enough is enough, and end to this, and they end it. God is not going to come down here to save Cameroon from the present grip, which we are lamenting of. Mr. Kum, I'm an evangelist, you know. The Bible says in the book of Psalms 115 verses 16, it says the heavens belong to God, and the earth has he given to the sons of men. It means that God has given us all the necessary enablement to give the earth the form we want. The church has a primordial role to play in this nation, rather than just the necessary, or let me say the cries or the messages which they're passing out. We have seen in countries like, take for example, the next door country, like the Democratic Republic of Congo, the role of the Roman Catholic Church in ensuring that there was genuine and transparent elections that were conducted before Etienne Tshisekedi took over from Joseph Kabila. We've seen the role played by Desmond Tutu in South Africa. We expect that the church, especially the mainstream, that's the Catholic Church in Cameroon, get itself committed to change. They shouldn't stay and limit themselves only to mere communiques and all the like. If we cannot take action, because the Bible itself says faith without action is not faith. They will tell you that they went into the polls and they voted, and they were expecting that the result or the declaration should reflect the outcome of the ballot. If it does not reflect, what else should we do? I think that the church has a spiritual role. What they have to do is let them commit God genuinely. Let them commit the people also into physical engagement. Mr. Akum Leonard, for a people to go out into the street and march and say we are not satisfied with this and all the like, it's not a crime. But we want to see some of these church leaders, the archbishops, just imagine in Douala, Mr. Akum Leonard, that after it was proclaimed that the people said the results were rigged, and Monsignor McLeod was in the street and said, no, I am leading the church to march and contest that this was not done.
Is that his place? Is it his place to do that?
We saw that in Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah, but that was before the elections. They made sure that they engage both parties involved, political stakeholders to come to an agreement.
Mr. Akum Leonard,
yeah.
What is the role of the church to fight against injustice now?
Yeah, but why are you not calling you a man of God also? Must it be the Catholics? What are you?
I want to call other persons. I've not ended. Let us even look at they call them, for the Presbyterian Church we have the moderator, the Apostolic Church they have the president. You go to the Baptist. If these churches all together came together, because I saw them before elections, some of the churches play quite a good role in mobilizing Cameroonians to go and vote. And the church was supposed even to have sent its own observers in the polls to ensure that they have authentic information.
Yeah, but it looks like the Catholic Church sent some persons.
If they did, like I was saying, Mr. Akum Leonard, the point is that you asked me if what is happening scared the opposition. I told you that politics to some people is a vocation.
Okay.
And once it's a vocation, we believe that God is the one that calls you.
Okay.
The death of Anicent Ekane pains a lot because he died actually in conditions that were horrible. We didn't expect that to happen.
Okay.
But then he died as a martyr because he died doing what he has been called to do.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and everyone on the panel. The elite of this nation are the ones bringing down the progress of this nation to its knees. The opposition leaders of this nation are also contributing to the downfall of this nation. None of these bodies cares for the welfare of the people. We are being ruled by dictatorship, and democracy is completely absent in this nation. May his soul and all those who have fallen in this post-election rest in peace. Amen. Lawrence and Don Gibi writing from Boya. Good evening to you all in the studio. And Badu writing from Yupwe. Truly speaking, I'm very ashamed of my own country, Cameroon. In the look of things, Cameroon will end up being a kingdom instead of a country. We are no more safe in our country. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the guest. The death of Anicent Ekane demoralized me. Our parents used to tell us how the other heroes died. I watched him fought tirelessly to bring change to Cameroon. My prayer is torments from him to anyone involved in his death. My condolences to his family. Rest in peace, champion. Mbi Zunyoy. Marcel is writing from Kumbo. Mr. Liu, I just tire this country because no matter the amount of talking, the government is so hard-hearted. So no need. Good evening, Mr. Liu. May God be our helper in this country. James is writing from Ash Raphael. As we speak now, confusion in the air. What should we say the civil society may have learned from what has happened on our political scene, as well as the political parties, so as a lesson to change course?
Yes, the lesson is simple and it's clean, and we don't even need any interpretation. The lesson is just that when you are together, the cause is utterly easier to fight. And that when you are at cross purposes, when you are individualistic, you
disperse ranks.
You know that the cause is very far to reach. It is a simple lesson for each and every one of us. So a political fight is like putting a broom, eyes of broom together. You know, when they are together, it's very easy to break. And when you separate them, it's easy to break them. So it is important, an important reminder. To me, I really think that it's not even a lesson for them any longer. They have learned the lesson. It's a reminder of the previous lesson that they have learned. And the previous lesson they have learned when you are joining activism is also that it's all because now that's what we call political party moral association, moral organization. Because you can moral because it is not owned by a single individual. You know, you cannot form a political party alone. And because you cannot form alone, one of the objectives of a political party also to partner where necessary, when they have same objective with other political party. And I think that in Cameroon, we have there's a common objective of political parties in Cameroon. And the common objective, first of all, is to scrutinize the government. And those who refuse to assist or to join in scrutinizing the government, I should call them as the common parlance black legs. And this is what has been happening in Cameroon. That we have had so many political parties. Well, we say that some are even formed by the government in place in order to shatter the other political parties. Because when we talk about alliance, and before you know it, people have gone at cross purposes. And you ask yourself what is happening. And now we have come to understand that the government too is playing a role. So the lesson too for the civil society is also that because many people join the civil society with the aim of being seen and then pinpoint to join other political parties. We have seen that happen in the past election, Mr. Liu. And I think that is a very important lesson for civil society to know that they are also there to sensitize the masses. The civil society has a role in politics, and their role is non-partisan, but their role is very, very fundamental in education of the masses. And that is very important. And that when you have a country that is lukewarm, that is nonchalant with issues of politics, then the civil society has a question to answer in that perspective. It means that they are not doing their job. Secondly, the civil society has as responsibility to cry foul when politicians are being unjustly imprisoned. It is your obligation and your responsibility. Well, in the case of Anicent Ekane, we have seen very few civil societies who have written and who have talked about the incarceration of Anicent Ekane.
Do you have the impression that they are scared themselves?
Of course,
targeted.
Of course, I already talked about we are living in an authoritarian government, authoritarian society, whereby everybody is afraid to talk about his point of view. Remember, it is a point of view of Anicent Ekane that took him to prison. It is not because he killed. It's not because he organized an uprising. It's not because he organized a coup d'etat. It is just simply by his point of view. And I said already, if a person in the name of Anicent Ekane, who is a household name in this country, the government is not even afraid to take him, and knowing that what the consequences can be, the government is not afraid. Then who is a small civil society that comes from a small place and wants to talk? So I think that it is like when you want to take frontline activism, you should be prepared to die. This is what that is the translation that we are having in Cameroon now. They don't take on politics. It's just that people like Semutanga, if he was a chicken-hearted man, he would have abandoned. Because, I mean, you have been in this place in the cell, Kondegi. I mean, 4 times. I think that that shows how daring you are. And you are standing your ground. So you think that and it does. Some countries have given us examples of them. You said DRC Congo. Tshisekedi is a son of the man who fought so hard in the politics of the DR Congo for so many years, but it is the son that came and took over. So the man wasn't chicken-hearted to see that they were treating the father badly, and then he absconded. He didn't, but he kept on going. I'm giving an example now according to the tenacity of people like Mutanga. So I think that people are afraid to talk. People are afraid for their lives, and I think that you cannot eat your cake and have it. If you think that you are afraid of politics, don't engage into it. And that in politics in countries like Cameroon, it has proven that the civil societies who are there really need to sensitize themselves, take the decision to be civil society. Politicians, those who are forming politics, if it is really real politics that they are forming, that they are coming up with, they really need to decide, because they know that even their words, even with their pronouncement, will take them to places where they will never have loved to ever go. And these are the kind of places that I've taken Anicent Ekane to. One of the things that people are forgetting to know of Anicent Ekane is that the prison has always been like his second home. He's a man who has had the prison like his second home. That's a man who is a fighter. He's a and when I show that the government thought they were still going to take him and come as he used to do in the past, but they didn't know that it was a time of God. And God has said, yeah, exactly. Okay. So this last time was actually the last time for him.
Richard Fru, good evening. You're watching us from the UK. Njuang Augustine Kwakwa, good evening to you watching us from Boya. Ephraim Books, good evening to you. K. Matem Aletanu, good evening to you guys watching us on our social media handle. We are going to move straight to our second topic, which has to do with the brouhaha touching on our national football team. You take the call by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education for Minat to ban the holding of the elective Congress of FICAFOOT, which was never banned, but we saw Minat rather send representatives to that meeting. Samuel Eto'o was re-elected, and today we see the coach who was taken out, another one. When are we going to see the end of these football struggles?
Mr. Kum Leonard, in as much as football will still be the source of avarice to most actors, especially the ministers, you find that there would still be that brouhaha, like you said, between the president of FICAFOOT and the minister of sports and physical education. Because don't forget, the bone of contention here is money. It is money. And everyone that is putting his eye on football, especially those who matter, is because they are looking at exactly what they will gain. 4 days ago, I was highly persecuted by some people who thought that as the special advisor of Professor Maurice Kamto, a militant of the Cameroon Renaissance movement, I shouldn't in any way have congratulated Eto'o for his re-election to the helm of Fecafoot. Some said it's a form of distraction, and I told them emphatically that even the creature itself is subject to vanity by the same person who has subjected everything in hope that they will be delivered. Even if they think that it's a creature of the regime in place, I think that Eto'o himself would not have loved to succumb to the whims and caprices of the regime willfully, because I have seen Eto'o came here one time. He wanted to create a football school, if some of you have fresh memories, and that had to face, it went with a lot of opposition around Kribi, and finally he relocated to Gabon, in Gabon. And you see, some people think that they are of the opinion that Eto'o has a vision for Cameroon's football, and he would not want to spend his youthful life and go unnoticed, especially after his taking on retirement from football. He took it simply because he wanted to invest in Cameroon football and leave a name and maybe get satisfaction in the vision he has always had for Cameroon football. When he took over, I saw his project for Cameroon's football, the revalorization of the pay package of the players, which he did. He even went on to talk about professionalization of football, which I saw he was in the process of doing. Eto'o went such far to get a Cameroonian, Rigobertson Bahana, to head the Indomitable Lions, which is the national football team of Cameroon. And we saw the strides of Rigobertson Bahana. It is true that no one is infallible. Eto'o had his fault. But then, sometimes when a person commits a fault, we don't only look at the fault, but we look at the circumstances surrounding the person. Is it because of overzealousness, overzealousness to do a job? Some said he was not taking advice from other stakeholders and other like, but that's not what really interests me. My point here is that of the autonomy of Fecafoot in exercising its legal role, and that of Eto'o performing the role of the president of Fecafoot. The former coach, Mark Brice, honestly speaking, Mr. Kumblionat, I'm not kind of a person that I think honor should be given to whom it is due. The mere fact that I saw him, or I used to get him say a lot of things which are uncalled for, especially on a man like Eto'o, who is a football legend. Because sometimes they say the prophet is never respected in his own homeland. But I'm not of that person, those type that think that a prophet should be minimized, should be treated as an outcast in his own nation. Maybe because some witches and wizards have decided to sold him out to some, you know, they say if the house does not sell, the outside does not take. Because if some people did not sell Eto'o so low to such a person, he will not. And Eto'o was relegated to the background. They had a lot of tussle, and such tussle between the Minister of Sports and Physical Education and Eto'o only produced what we saw today. Because if they wanted to say they would be struggling to get an opportunity to hold Eto'o accountable for everything, if I were the Minister of Youth and Sports and any other technical advisor to him, we would have given him the opportunity to freely exercise his mandate, so that we can be able to judge him by the various actions that he freely did during his mandate. But that was not done. So at this particular juncture, I think that the re-election of Eto'o is going to teach a lesson to most of them that once a person is loved by the sovereign people, because I think Eto'o is one of those players, is one of those president of Fecafoot that the delegates loved him, because honestly, if the delegate did not love him, they would not have elected him to the helm of Fecafoot as a president. Those who are fighting him saw that they were fighting a loose battle. Where I have a worry is this, Mr. Kum.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the Minister of Youth and Sport solicited
sports and physical education.
The Minister of Sport and Physical Education, excuse me, Minister of Sport and Physical Education, he solicited the Minister of Territorial Administration to place a ban on the elections that were supposed to be organized on that 29th of November.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not done. He said that he was soliciting him because he had in mind that there was going to be chaos, commotion at the election venue. We did not see a ban that was placed by by the Minister of Territorial Administration. But that same day, just 24 hours to the organization of the Extraordinary Congress of the CRM, somebody went and solicited that. No, I foresee that there will be commotion and chaos at the headquarters of the CRM, and the ban was effected without any reflection the same day. So, in fact, we are living in a country where those who are supposed to apply the law, in all fairness, are not willing to do so simply because they are not acting in the interests of the sovereign people. They are acting in the interests of political lobbyings.
Okay.
I want to thank the Minister of Territorial Administration, who certainly saw that it was uncalled for to ban to ban election at Fecafoot, because if it was banned and there had to be a toss, I don't know what would have been the outcome today. Maybe it would have also led to another massive arrest, because I know Eto'o has his own supporters, and we all know what it means when it has to do with football. You see, the youngsters are always very emotional and not the like. But then God's intervention came in that part, and Eto'o has been elected. I only have to wish him well and think that he will have to work for the good of Cameroonians. And then to those who think that simply because Eto'o threw his support to President Paul Biya, those of us who are of the opposition or someone like me should consider him as the enemy of the people. I don't think that the opposition alone is representing the entire nation. It's representing a faction of the people. And as a liberal thinker, we should be able to judge people by the limits of their powers. You understand what I'm saying? Eto'o has powers that are limited. If we can sing the praises of the minister, sing the praises of the Secretary General of the Presidency, sing the praises of other persons, and then we think Eto'o, who does not even represent anything, should be thrown to the public and be given a mob justice, I don't think we are acting in all fairness, because he himself, his hands are tied. Okay.
Yes. Should we not at this juncture be tired of the endless tussles between Fecafoot and the Minister of Sports and Physical Education?
Somebody should actually be tired, because after when something goes for so long, there is bound to be relinquished of one end or another. You understand that at this very moment, where we are almost at the middle of the sea, when Cameroon failed to qualify for the World Cup, Mr. Liu, it resonates that sense of duty consciousness, of conscientiousness in people, and to say that the fight is unnecessary when the country is drowning, and therefore somebody should be tired. The fight between Fecafoot and the Ministry of Sports is like the fight between a man and a woman. And in literature, we usually say that for a man and a woman, for a marriage to be successful, one of the partners must die. And when we say die, of course, that is to say that what? one of the partners must be submerged, must surrender. And this is exactly what has to happen. Either the surrendering should be by voluntary will or by force. It is a clear sign that one of the partners must die. And of course, in Cameroon, one of the partners died. And that is why we had the election at the Fecafoot. It is a sign that we were tired. This is a country where the head of state quoted, a team, and then the head of state quoted in so many of his speeches, and he's put that as a pedigree, as the apogee of every ascendancy, of every success in Cameroon. He mentioned it with the indomitable lions, until even if you did, when you did well in your marriage home, they say you are an indomitable husband. And I think it was important for us to able to follow that, and that at the very moment we had that drastic turn down, fall that we had until we became a mockery of in Africa. I think it's a time that somebody should even get tired, even if for nothing, you should get tired. And I'm sure that reason came over somebody. And we say the invisible hand, because like they say biblically, and Samuntanga would quote me right, the kingdom of God taken by violence. And I think this is what happened this time around, that the Fecafoot boss, who is Samuel Eto'o, has to say, I also know my rights, and this time around I'm taking my right into my own hands. And it was time that somebody listened. You will see how somebody was crying like a little baby that was refused food, and trying to garner the Ministry of Territorial Administration to come forth. I do not know whether it was true, some prophecy or some sorcery or some whatsoever. They saw that there was going to be commotion or public disorder in the thing, which never happened. It also falls back to some of the pastors today, Samutanga, who gives false prophecy, because I know a false prophecy was given that there was going to be an uprising during the Fecafoot. Of course, which of course we saw one of the most peaceful, the most transparent, the most tranquil elections that we have had in Cameroon, that was supervised by the international bodies, the CAF, the FIFA, and all the rest. Of course, the government of Cameroon. This is very, very important, that there comes a time in people's life when people have to leave individual gains, selfishness, personal aggrandizement, and they put it for the collective good, for the good of the nation. This is actually what happened, and it was important that this happened. And as this has happened, you see that the fallouts are already there. Just the very after 2 days, we started seeing how heads were falling, and they were falling like mushrooms. This is very important, that we have to give hands and give a free hand to people who have to do their thing the way they know to do things. Not that people should do things because of the intents that are behind. So it is time that we get tired about duping people. It's the time to get tired about selfish gain. It's time to get tired about nepotism, favoritism, corruption, and all that. It is time that we actually get tired and put the collective good ahead of us. And this is exactly example that are started in Fecafoot. It is time that we also stop talking about the issue of high instruction when it comes to doing something right. That when it comes to doing something right, there's no issue of high instruction. That is the issue of you, the boss, who is there to serve the purpose of the people, and and you serve the purpose of the people with selflessness. This is the time. It's time to get tired. That it's only good that can triumph over evil. Of course. Now, let us.
Do you believe the fight is over?
I think that the fight of the truth is over. Some people can now begin to go diabolically in the night, like we saw the owl on the window of Samuel Eto'o and whatsoever. Let people now go diabolical fight. But we know that the fight of the truth is over, because the fight of the truth the election was the fight of the truth. And that is why, and I take my defense and my data from the fact that we have the highest governing body of football that came to supervise the election. And immediately after, the highest president of football in the world, Infantino, sent Samuel Eto'o a congratulatory matrix. Means that he got the information from the holy ground that the elections were free, fair, transparent, and that the truth triumph. If somebody wants to come to bring falsehood and continue to fight because what he wants to eat, let me tell you, posh belly will catch people. Let people be very careful, because the truth must triumph over evil. And now that people are being given their free hand to work, let them be able to judge them through the free hands. Because now nobody can judge Eto'o from the failure that were failed to go to the World Cup. Why? Because there was that fight. Now there's a fight of this coach. 2 coaches at the same time. This one at the same time, and this one giving other one giving. He was not given the free hand to be able to handle his football. Now that the election is over and he has said, I'm taking my things into my hand, we have started seeing appointment, we have started seeing renovation, we have started seeing changes, and of course we want to see those changes go right to the African Nations Cup, and why not in the next 4 years, wherever the next World Cup is going to go on after America,
Okay.
Mexico and Canada.
Okay, good evening, happy Xmas and New Year in advance, Mr. Kumlenat. And to you all in the studio, the time has come for all Cameroonians to come together and put the devil to shame. I pray His Excellency President Paul Biya, with his authority, give a presidential pardon to all political prisoners. Let there be light during these periods of manipulation by the powers that from the underworld. It's Tagen Donatien Tebuk Eyong, writing from Bomenda. Good evening, my dear brothers. I must commend that you guys are doing a great job. Mr. Kum, politics is a calling and a profession. It's a profession where intelligence, kindness, goodness, compassion, and a little bit of emotion are employed for the interests of the people, not the politicians themselves. That is why politicians are nominated and elected. What is happening in our country is lack of fear of God. But what is good is that Almighty is watching. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The death of our father, Anicent Ekane, is a disgrace to Cameroon democracy. Why? Because nobody opted to stand for his release. Neither the lawyers, civil societies, and even his party, despite knowing his health condition. For our government, it is a disgrace because they think power will last in their hands forever. But God has the final say over Cameroon. One day it will be over. So sad. Caroline is writing from Bonaberry. Good evening to you, Mr. Leo, and everyone on the panel. Okay, we want to say thank you to all of you who have watched this edition, and especially to you, Semutaga. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Akum Leonard, and I want to use this opportunity to implore my fellow men of God to continue interceding for our nation, because the highest Christian service is the prayer of intercession, is intercession. Let us continue interceding for this nation, because no matter the length of the night, it will surely dawn. And we think that we are already almost at the end of the tunnel. There will be light in this nation. You see, when you start seeing the dragonflies around, know that the dry season is around. We have never seen so much happening in this nation as has happened in 2025. I have hope, I'm optimistic that soon the operation will be over and God Almighty is in control. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Doctor, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Please, if just permit me be able to say a special happy birthday to my dad.
Okay.
Papa Francis Ndimancho. He turned 84 exactly today.
Congratulations.
Oh, of course, thanks so much. I'm one of the few blessed people who still have their parents.
Birthday
To you, exactly. And a lot of celebration is going back at home. Of course, he's still looking very firm, very strong. And I made a joke to someone today. I say I'm aging more than my father already because he still looks strong. So it was a pleasure for the family to be able to celebrate him today. I was not able to be there, but that know that I am with him in spirit. He is one of those persons who has constantly reminded me about the virtues I've learned as a child, the things that he taught us, and I've kept that into practice. So I wish you that, Pan Dimancho Francis, a very, very special birthday, and may God, the infinite mercy, continue to accompany you in your life.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you to the production team. Also, stay blessed. Bye-bye.